year. So, again, the differences between the coughs and you said, hey, if you're coughing two weeks, I mean, we have folks there that are coughing on a daily basis. How do you know one is maybe...
The symptoms of cough is not really exclusive for TB.
Okay, not exclusive.
You can find this in pneumonia,
okay,
in bronchitis, and even in a smoker's cough.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it doesn't just come alone. It has to have other associated symptoms,
okay,
signs and symptoms,
okay,
which could be fever. Usually fever is low grade,
mm-hmm,
unexplained weight loss, loss of appetite, easy fatigability, or like they just feel
mm-hmm,
tired. It's like
mm-hmm,
it feels like it's the end of the day when it's not.
So basically,
when they have
you can have, basically it's like the flu symptoms then.
Basically,
okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't get well by
mm-hmm,
what your doctor just gave you, like a 2-week antibiotics, and it's not getting any better,
mm-hmm,
you need to go back and see your doctor. Hey doctor, I'm not getting any better.
mm-hmm,
And maybe that's when your doctor can do further tests like sputum exam,
mm-hmm,
or further more x-rays if needed, or other tests that can
mm-hmm,
possibly help in the diagnosis of tuberculosis.
Now, let me ask you this, because I've had of course bad coughs and visited. I try to get my flu shots on an annual basis, but let me ask you this, because I have never been asked. I mean, whether I've got tested, with PPD or on all that. I mean, is there a profile that doctors look at you and says, well, let me see, have you been tested for TB recently because of this cough? I mean, there's got to be a mechanism built into the system to see maybe where have you been, where you came from. If you came from a certain place that's have a higher rate of tuberculosis, this might be that. How does one screen out? I mean, because by the time if you're given antibiotics, it doesn't get well. In a couple of weeks, you go back to the doctor, and he could have treated you 2 weeks before that.
It's unfortunate that some cases have been missed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, these symptoms are not exclusive for TB.
Okay.
So I think the bottom line here is if you're sick,
mm-hmm,
don't go to school, don't go to work, see a doctor and get checked.
There we go. Senator, we talked about looking at maybe a different model now, mm-hmm, something that I mean, the CDC, I guess, is looking at and,
mm-hmm,
and have been implemented in quite a few states, if not all the states, in regards to testing. What do you foresee to do now in the future?
Well, I guess, looking at the information that has been provided to me by, by the experts, we need to have a serious discussion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And discussions could start as early as once we get over this. Once we get the testing for our students are in school, that's when we need to start it. Because mm-hmm, right now you have not just students who are required to take these screenings. Mm-hmm. Teachers are required every year, I believe, right, Cecile?
Yes,
who are required. So it's not like students. Only the new students, like kindergarteners, mm-hmm, Head Start, mm-hmm, and anyone coming into the system that's new need to get it. Teachers, on the other hand, need to get it every year. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Health workers, people that work in restaurants, they need to get it.
Sure.
So we're going to work with public health and determine moving forward what needs to be done. For me, at least, I want to ask them is that we need to do a community education. Mm-hmm. What TB is, how do you get TB, how do you mm-hmm, prevent it, and how it's treated. Mm-hmm. Because I think we got a lot of people got different perspective of what it is, mm-hmm, and how you get it. And I think the best way to combat this thing is to educate the community.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, because there are different methods now. I mean, what we're doing, I guess, is probably a little more advanced than everybody else or something. But what is the accepted method, the CDC and what other districts are implementing at this point that maybe it's time to look at that and probably implement that? What's happening out there?
Most of the states mm-hmm, don't do any more routine testing or across the board testing.
Okay.
They just test the high-risk individuals,
high-risk,
which
okay,
includes those patients with other medical risk factors like
okay,
they're immunocompromised, they are HIV positive,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
or contacts to active infectious tuberculosis.
Okay, mm-hmm.
These are the groups that needs to be tested, and we call that targeted testing.
Mm-hmm.
Because with this, the yield is very high.
Okay.
Unlike you just test anybody there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now with limited resources that we have. We need to reserve whatever supplies we have for those that need it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do have supplies of public health.
Sure.
But unfortunately, we just cannot release it without a buffer that we have to have on hand
now
in the event we have an outbreak of TB.
Let me ask you this, because we were talking as well as Guam, and actually this region, we're high risk. We're high risk. Doesn't that alone, not necessarily, I mean, I guess you can compact that by saying you're a high risk because you have HIV or you have cancer, or you have this, and put you at a higher risk. But the designation that we are higher risk, we're out in this area, doesn't that alone constitute, again, testing everybody because we are at risk because of the per, I guess it's per 100,000 that people are tested, are testing positive?
Although Guam's TB case rate is 6 times more of Hawaii and 15 times more of the U.S., and the U.S. Pacific Island as a whole is about 10 times of Hawaii and 27 times over the U.S. It's true, we have a high rate. But again, you just can't test everybody every year.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you just got to use these resources in a way that it's more productive and cost effective.
Sure.
Now, I think the bottom line here is anybody who's sick, they have to see a doctor.
Sure.
It's unfortunate that some of the cases we're seeing is just like they've had this for so long, but it was not just in the radar that it could possibly be tuberculosis.
Sure. Senator, some of the quotes that Public Health was quoted, not yourself, the director was quoted, not knowing whether it's right or not, the quote was taken out of context or not, but one of the things that the director is looking at is possibly having the opportunity for Public Health to procure, you know, not only the PPD drugs, but maybe drugs that they're needing because they have the expertise, they have the people that know what to order. Supposedly, there in this last order there was some kind of miscommunication. This is what was ordered. This was what they wanted to procure versus what had come in. And so, is there a possibility to do something like that, which makes sense to me, but maybe in the bigger scope, maybe it doesn't. But your thoughts?
Are you talking about maybe taking away the procurement and giving it to public?
Well,
health?
I mean that was what the director was looking at, to be able to have the power to procure themselves.
Sure, I know. Yes, I remember him saying that. However, I think we need to discuss that more. One, you know, I was talking with GSA with the chief procurement officer, and it seemed that she had a lot to do in procuring these test kits now, and so there's a lot of value to them as well.
Sure.
And so I think we really, you know, no doubt there's always there's a break in the chain, you know, when it comes to procurement, and so we really need to take a look at that and review that. But I think to give credit, you know, to GSA, you know, for this time around, you know, it was them who really went out and tried to seek it.
And I've got to add this to this, which has nothing to do with this, but I mean, it's part of the procurement frustration that we see. We all heard and read about the 859 child care restraint seats that were ordered that were never used, and as soon as they arrive with a letter that said these are no longer certified, they have to be certified. So we ordered things that weren't needed, were never used, and still unused, and now there are 13 crates regarding that. The answer that we're getting from DOE is that, look, the people that procured this are no longer here, which just doesn't stand. I mean, it doesn't fly with me, okay? And so there's a problem. Somebody had to communicate with GSA to order this. Somebody had to do that. Don't give me this baloney that people have retired. And my question is, those people who retired, did they get merit bonuses for doing a good thing?
That's right.
So again, we have to holistically look at how we do things, because it's very easy to point a finger at GSA and all this. It's very easy to do that. And at the end of the day, you're going to say, well, they're the ones that ordered it. But somebody had to communicate with them to order this. We had called DPW, bus operations. We didn't have anything to do with it. It's highway safety. Highway safety is it's not us. It's public health. Public health oversees Head Start, and so we're going. This is a continuous passing the buck.
That's right.
We'll be right back. Pay some bills. Be right back.